Hey everyone! OpenAI just dropped the biggest tech bombshell since the original iPhone. It sure looks that way. We're talking about a jaw-dropping $6.5 billion acquisition of Jony Ive's hardware startup. And that's just the beginning. The goal? A completely screenless AI device that could ship 100 million units straight out the gate. This wasn't just another quirky gadget announcement that popped up on social media. This one felt different. This is the kind of move that could fundamentally transform the way we engage with AI in everyday life. Let's break this down. Sam Altman, CEO of OpenAI, is now teaming up with the man behind the iPhone, the iMac, the iPad, basically every major Apple product you've ever loved. The collaboration signals a radical shift. They're no longer building software for screens. They're moving toward what they're calling AI-native devices. Devices that don't need screens at all. Now, here's where things get wild. This upcoming product, it's not a phone. It's not glasses. It's not a smartwatch. In fact, it's designed to reduce your dependence on screens altogether. So how did this partnership even come together? When I first saw the numbers, I had to double-check to believe it. OpenAI pulled off its largest acquisition to date, purchasing Jony Ive's new hardware venture called LoveFrom IO in a massive all-stock deal valued at $6.5 billion. But this isn't just a financial power move. It's a creative and strategic alliance. You've got Sam Altman, who's been pushing AI to the edge of possibility, and Jony Ive, whose design legacy with Apple needs no introduction. Their partnership began 2 years ago, sparked by informal discussions about the future of AI and computing. At the time, Altman was fully immersed in scaling OpenAI. Ive had recently left Apple to build his own elite design firm, LoveFrom, a company so stacked with talent that some have called it the densest collection of design excellence in the world. From curiosity and shared values came bold ambition. The two quickly realized that to build what they had in mind, they couldn't just tweak existing tools. They needed an entirely new platform. So a year ago, Ive and a few Apple veterans, including Scott Cannon, Evans Hankey, and Tang Tan, founded I.O. These names might not be household terms, but they're the visionaries behind many of Apple's most iconic devices. During a call with OpenAI staff, Ive described this initiative not just as a project, but as a new design movement. And coming from someone who worked side by side with Steve Jobs for over a decade. That's a serious statement. So, what are they building exactly? According to internal leaks from an OpenAI team meeting, the device is entirely screen-free, fits in your pocket, and is context-aware, meaning it understands your environment in real time. Altman described it to his team as an AI companion, something you could carry around or leave on your desk, not unlike a digital assistant with presence. Here's the kicker. Altman positioned this device as the third essential device in your life, alongside your laptop and your phone. Think about that. He's not trying to replace your smartphone. He's trying to create a new category of device that earns a permanent spot next to your most essential tech. And in that same internal talk, Altman made it absolutely clear. This is not a phone, it's not smart glasses, and it's definitely not wearable. I've had no interest in going down the wearable path, especially not after the recent backlash to devices like the Humane AI pin. The goal, instead, is to wean people off screens, to reduce digital overload, and make AI interactions more fluid and natural, not more invasive. Ive summed it up best when he said, "The tools we're using to connect with this extraordinary technology are outdated. The products we rely on are decades old. Surely we can build something better." Aiming for a historic launch, This is where it gets even crazier. Sam Altman isn't just dreaming big. He's trying to break records. He wants this device to ship 100 million units faster than anything in consumer electronics history. To put that in perspective, it took Apple's iPhone about 2.5 years to reach the 100 million mark. Altman's team is aiming to crush that. Their timeline. Mass production starts in 2027, with a launch window as early as late 2026. That gives them about 2 years to go from concept to scaling millions of units. During a team meeting, Altman was quoted saying, "This is the biggest thing we've ever tried to do as a company." Also worth noting that secrecy is off the charts. Very few outside the inner circle even know what this device looks like. That level of confidentiality usually points to something truly groundbreaking, and something competitors would try to replicate the second they see it. Let's hit pause and assess the current AI device market, because it's a mess. And OpenAI has to navigate this minefield. For starters, let's look at some high-profile flameouts. First up, the Humane AI pin. You probably remember this one. It was supposed to be the next big thing. A little wearable pin that projected a laser interface on your palm. Cool concept, but the execution? A disaster. Users complained of overheating, unstable connectivity, and a clunky user experience. The price didn't help either. It retailed for $699, plus a monthly subscription fee. Tech reviewers tore it apart. Even Marcus Brownlee, arguably the most influential tech voice on YouTube, called it the worst product I've ever reviewed. Battery issues were rampant. Reddit users shared horror stories about needing to recharge it multiple times a day. Eventually, the company had to shut down hardware development and sell off assets to HP. A total crash and burn moment. Then we had the Rabbit R1, a pocket-sized AI gadget that looked adorable and sold out fast. People were hungry for something new. But when the reviews dropped, the software felt incomplete. The Verge described it as barely reviewable. Others pointed out that most of its features could be easily replicated by a simple smartphone app. So yes, it was cute, it was buzzy, but it wasn't revolutionary. And even Apple, yes, Apple, recently stumbled. The Vision Pro headset was a technological marvel, incredible display, amazing engineering, but it came with a $3,500 price tag. That made it a toy for developers and rich early adopters, not the everyday consumer. Critics like Wired called it one of 2024's biggest hardware flops in terms of market impact, despite the impressive tech. The lesson: even brilliant hardware needs the right price point, a clear use case, and a seamless experience to truly succeed. That said, not everything has been a failure. There have been quiet successes, where AI is embedded into familiar products and makes them better, rather than trying to reinvent everything. One example? Meta's Ray-Ban smart glasses. They're surprisingly solid. They work well, and they look like regular sunglasses, and the tech is tucked away discreetly. They include Meta's multimodal AI, which understands both audio and visual input. You can literally ask questions about things you're looking at, and it responds in real time. And they're not outrageously priced either. And now, even Google is getting into the mix. At their I/O event, they teased updates to their Android XR platform, which includes smart glasses that could compete directly with Meta's offering. I've actually tried Meta's glasses myself, and they're one of the few new AI gadgets that feel like they just work. That's a promising sign for the category. So with all that context, the prototypes that crashed, the smart glasses that quietly succeeded, it's clear OpenAI and Jony Ive aren't entering a blank slate. They're stepping into a messy, uncertain space where no one has yet cracked the AI device code. But maybe that's exactly why the opportunity is so massive. Because here's what comes next. The AI future doesn't look like a phone or a headset. It doesn't even necessarily look like a device at all. We're entering the era of ambient intelligence. And that's where things start to get wild. Instead of carrying one central device like a smartphone, future AI might exist as tiny assistants scattered throughout our lives. A pendant you wear, a device in your car, something in your pocket, embedded sensors in your home. None of them individually need to be powerful. They just need to be smart enough to handle simple tasks and talk to the cloud when necessary. This is what people are calling ambient AI. Intelligence that surrounds you, not something you use. It doesn't require input in the traditional sense. It just knows and helps. The device from OpenAI and Ive is just step one in that direction. To make this future viable, the architecture behind the scenes needs to change. It's no longer enough to run everything in the cloud. Enter the edge, plus cloud hybrid model. Here's how it works. Small localized chips inside devices handle the fast, simple AI tasks. What's the weather? Translate this phrase. Summarize this article. Meanwhile, heavier tasks. Writing a blog post, reasoning over complex data, or helping you code get offloaded to the cloud-based models like GPT-5. And here's the kicker. The edge is getting shockingly powerful. Take Qualcomm's new Snapdragon X Elite chip. It delivers over 40 trillion operations per second. That's insane performance for local AI inference. Intel is following with Lunar Lake, delivering 48 TOPS. What this means is instant responses, even without an internet connection. The device can be useful the second you pull it out of your pocket. And if it needs deeper help, it can discreetly whisper to the cloud and pull the answer back in milliseconds. That's the dream. And it's no longer science fiction. This is being built right now. Now, let's talk about something that might not seem exciting, but is critical. Privacy. As AI devices become more embedded, more capable, and more present in our lives, the question of where your data goes becomes unavoidable. The European Union has already passed its AI Act, a sweeping piece of legislation that sets rules on how AI models can be trained, how data can be used, and how companies must protect personal information. The US isn't far behind, and consumers are catching on. You can already feel the shift in sentiment. People are no longer blindly handing over their information. So why does that matter? Because OpenAI's decision to emphasize on-device AI processing, the edge part, might not just be a technical win. It might be a legal and market differentiator. Devices that process locally can say, your data never leaves the device. And that becomes a competitive advantage. By contrast, devices that constantly send voice, video, or text to remote servers, like the Rabbit R1 or Humane PIN, will face scrutiny. Regulators and consumers alike are going to start asking tough questions. OpenAI knows this. You can bet that privacy, real, tangible, local first privacy, will be a central part of their product story. Now let's pivot to something a little more fun. The AI design wars. Because as AI goes mainstream, it won't just be about performance. It'll be about fashion, aesthetics, style. Look at the direction we're headed. Smart rings, wearable pendants, smart jewelry, AirPods that are getting smarter and more sensor-packed. It's all about shrinking the tech and increasing the elegance, making gadgets invisible, or at least desirable. Jony Ive is, of course, a master of this. His goal has never been to make futuristic-looking tech. He's always aimed to make technology disappear into the background of beautiful, minimalist design. So if this AI companion device ends up being a small pendant, or pin, or soft-touch orb you carry, Don't be surprised. And don't be surprised if Apple fires back with its own next-gen AirPods, packed with multimodal AI, or even a rumored Apple Ring. We're heading toward a future where the most powerful computers in your life are also the most discreet. But here's the question that always comes up. How are they going to make money on this? We already know the answer: subscriptions. The Humane pin, for all its faults, tried to charge $24 per month on top of its high hardware price. Rabbit R1 launched with a free tier, but planned to move toward paid features. Even OpenAI itself has ChatGPT Plus and Team plans. So expect this new AI device to follow suit. You'll likely get some base-level usage for free, maybe a few hundred queries a month. Then there'll be pro tiers, with more power, better cloud access, and new features. And it's not just speculation. This is a tried and true model in tech. Gaming consoles like the Xbox and PlayStation have been sold at a loss for decades because the real money comes from the subscription ecosystem. Game Pass, DLCs, online access, the works. The same idea could apply here. OpenAI might even sell this new device at break-even or below cost if it gets millions of people into the GPT subscription funnel. Hardware becomes the hook. Software becomes the profit. So, what could this magical little device do? Let's dream for a moment. Because the biggest challenge AI devices have faced so far is that they feel like solutions in search of a problem. But what if this one just worked? Imagine this. You point the device at your fridge and it scans the contents. A second later, it suggests meals you can cook this week and auto-generates a shopping list. You're walking into a meeting and bump into someone. Can't remember their name. The device whispers it in your ear, based on past interaction. You're traveling abroad. You have fluent, real-time conversations in another language. No phone, no app, just smooth, invisible translation. That's the kind of stuff that goes from cool to essential. And that's what OpenAI and Ive are aiming for. Not just something that works, but something you can't imagine living without. Of course, nothing's guaranteed. Let's talk about the risks, the things that could kill this device before it even gets off the ground. Number 1. Heat and battery life. Small devices with big ambitions run into a physics problem. They get hot, and batteries drain fast. This was a major issue with the Humane pin. It overheated fast. Users said it was like walking around with a warm puck on your shirt. Wireless charging is also wildly inefficient, generating even more heat. OpenAI's hardware needs to stay cool, stay discreet, and last all day. That's a huge engineering challenge. Number 2. Pricing. If this thing costs $1,000, forget it. It's a niche luxury toy. But even at $400 or $500, it risks falling into the cool but unnecessary category. To go mainstream, it needs to be affordable or irresistibly useful enough to justify a premium. Number 3. Constant listening equal privacy. Red flags. Yes, we already discussed privacy, but it bears repeating. A device that's always listening, even with the best intentions, raises alarm bells. OpenAI and Ive will have to provide full transparency, clear settings, and let users own their data. One mistake here, and trust evaporates instantly. Now, despite all those risks, the timing for this launch might be perfect. Why? Because the world is finally ready. Thanks to ChatGPT, people are no longer afraid to talk to AI. They get it. They use it. They're curious. At the same time, people are hitting phone fatigue. We spend hours a day doom scrolling on glowing rectangles. Many of us are looking for a smarter, less intrusive way to stay connected. This device might be it. And now let's get a little reflective. Jony Ive was the force behind the iPhone, a device that completely redefined the modern era. But since leaving Apple, he hasn't made a splash like that again. Could this be his next grand contribution? Could this be the moment where he, along with Sam Altman, finally helps demote the smartphone from its pedestal? Where they usher in a new computing paradigm built around ambient, helpful, non-intrusive intelligence? It's possible. And if they succeed, everyone else will be forced to react. Make no mistake, if OpenAI and Ive launch something compelling, even just a solid V1, it will send shockwaves through the tech world. Apple will need to fast-track its AI-powered Siri upgrade, and possibly its own hardware companion. Google will have to accelerate its Project Astra, their vision of a real-time, multimodal AI assistant. Meta will push harder into wearables, doubling down on its Ray-Bans and other form factors. Just like the AI model race, we're about to enter an AI hardware arms race. So after diving deep into the acquisition, the product roadmap, the competition, the design strategy, and the broader trends, here's the real takeaway. This might be the first AI device that finally sticks. Not a gimmick, not a tech demo, but something that integrates into our lives so well we forget it's even there, while quietly making everything easier, smarter, more delightful. That's the bar. And with OpenAI's intelligence and Jony Ive's design mastery, they might just hit it. The future, it seems, doesn't come on a screen. It comes in your pocket. And maybe this time, without the glass slab.